One of the most important factors in shooting accurately is having a well-zeroed rifle. Whether you're new to guns or an experienced shooter, sighting in your optic should be a regular routine that every shooter should understand. In this video, we'll cover what is zeroing, what is MOA and how does it affect how we zero, what factors can affect your zero, and I'll show you exactly how I get my rifle zeroed at the range today. Zeroing your rifle means adjusting your sights or optic so that your point of aim matches your point of impact at a specific distance. For example, if I'm zeroed at 100 yards, my point of impact should be exactly where my reticle is at that same yardage. A proper zero is the foundation of accuracy. Without a good zero, even the best rifle and ammo combo won't land shots where you want to. Let's talk about MOA, or minute of angle. It's how we make precise adjustments to our optics. In short, 1 MOA equals roughly 1 inch at 100 yards, roughly 2 inches at 200 yards, and so on. Most scopes adjust in 1/4 inch MOA clicks, which means at 100 yards, it would take 4 clicks to move your point of impact 1 inch. So let's say I'm impacting 2 inches low at 100 yards, I would dial up 8 clicks. That would be 2 MOA. Having a basic understanding of MOA makes zeroing way easier and way more accurate. It's important to remember that zeroing is not a one and done deal. It should be constantly checked and updated as you shoot. There are a ton of factors that can and will affect your zero. Environmental factors like temperature, humidity, elevation, and wind can all affect your point of impact. It's best practice to zero in the weather and location where you plan to shoot or hunt. If you're traveling to shoot at a new spot, check your zero there to ensure that the environment won't affect your point of impact. Aside from environmental factors, mechanical factors can also change your point of impact. Things like swapping or remounting a scope may not seem like a big deal, but these little movements in your optic at 100 yards will drastically change your zero. Even putting on a new muzzle device or putting a suppressor on your gun will also change your zero. Due to the way that the barrel harmonics play on bullet flight, putting anything on the end of your barrel warrants a re-zero. Other things like changing a barrel or other internal parts can affect your zero as well. Even things like bumping or dropping your rifle can loosen up your optic or tilt it some way, affecting your zero as well. Another important factor to remember is that as you shoot, your barrel heats up and changes the way that your bullet flies, which will also affect your zero. As a new shooter, another thing that blew my mind is that all different ammos fly differently. When zeroed to one ammo, switching to a different manufacturer, brand, or bullet weight can significantly affect where your point of impact is. I think it's best practice to experiment. Go out and buy a bunch of different rounds, different bullet weights, different manufacturers, and shoot them all through your rifle and see what your rifle prefers. Every rifle and barrel is made differently, and they all can prefer different ammo types. Ideally, you find the ammo that groups best and stick with it. That way you never have to worry about different ammo types shifting your zero. Bottom line, your rifle zero is not permanent, and even small changes can drastically affect your rifle zero. Check your zero whenever you travel, change ammo or optics, are in different weather situations, are going on a hunt, or just do it every couple hundred rounds to make sure that you're going to be dead on. Now I'll show you how I zero my rifle. Today I'm using my 16-inch suppressed AR-15 with a 2.5 to 12 power optic, and I'm zeroing at 100 yards. For hunting or longer range rifles, 100 yards is a perfect starting point for getting a base zero. Now I have my target set up 100 yards downrange, and I've got a sticky target applied to it so that I can see my impacts. You need to be able to see your impacts so that you can make the changes to get perfectly zeroed. And if you don't have a target stand or sticky targets, just use a cardboard box. You can see impacts on it and it'll work just fine. Okay, now that we've got our target set up, I want to make sure that my rifle is set up in the most stable way possible to take as much human error out of the shooting as possible. Now I like to use a tripod, proned out, with a little bag under my stock to stay steady. If you don't have a tripod, roll up a hoodie real tight and rest your handguard on that just to try and stay a little bit more steady. I'm using a little hammock bag as my stock support, so use what you can. You just want to make sure that you don't move your gun as much as possible. You also want to make sure that your rifle is level. If your rifle's canted one way or another, It's totally gonna affect your zero, especially if you start shooting longer range. Last part is you wanna make sure you're on a relatively flat surface. If you're shooting uphill or downhill too much, that will also affect your zero if you change that angle of shooting. Okay, now that I'm all set up and ready to shoot, we're gonna shoot 3-round groups. Now the reason we do that is because every bullet's not gonna hit exactly in the same spot. So we shoot a 3-round group to get an average. That way we can take that average and move it where we need to get a perfect zero. So when I'm aiming downrange at my target, I'm gonna pick a very specific point. Now this is important because you're trying to get the best group possible so that we can get the best data to then move our zero. If you have a target with squares, maybe pick one corner to aim at. Don't just aim for the center of the square. If you have a little round dot, put your reticle maybe right at the bottom or the top. That way you can pick and stay exactly on point and get the best group possible. Let's go ahead and put that 3-round group down there on paper and we'll go check it out. I'm gonna zoom all the way in to give myself the best possibility of getting a tight group. Okay, there's my 3-round group. I felt like those were all pretty smooth, consistent shots. There shouldn't be any flyers. So we're gonna take our digital calipers and we're gonna go measure that group from the point of impact where we need to make adjustments on our scope, make those adjustments, and then we should be good to go. I'm gonna take this mag out, I'm gonna clear that round so that we're good and safe. Now we can go check that group. Obviously my rifle wasn't unzeroed enough for this to be super big or really make big changes, but that's my group of 3 right there. I was obviously aiming for low center of the circle using my digital calipers, and I'm going to measure out this group from the biggest point across to the center of the next furthest impact. Lucky for me, I have a half MOA group right here. Now, let's say that this group was over here. What we would do is we would take our calipers and measure, and let's say our group was 1 inch across. Well, we would find the center point of those 3 rounds, which in this case would be here for this group. And then we would take that measurement and we would measure across to the center of our target. Now, the center of this group is about ½ an inch left. Now, if we go back to what we learned about MOA, ½ an inch at 100 yards would be 2 clicks because each click is a quarter MOA. So now what I need to do is I need to bring this group over ½ an inch. So I need to do 2 clicks to my right to bring that over. Now I like the elevation there. I guess I could bring it 1 click down for a ¼ inch to get it right in the center. I'll do 2 clicks to the right for ½ an inch and then 1 click down for a ¼ inch. And that should bring our group right in this red circle. I have these little target pasties that I'll put on there to mark my previous grouping. Now it's like I have a fresh target. I can make my adjustments back at the gun and hopefully punch this little red ring out. So we're back on rifle. Now I just need to make those changes that we talked about up at the target. ½ an inch to the right, which means 2 clicks to the right. So I'm gonna pull my turret out and go 2 clicks to the right, reset that. And then I wanted to go down a ¼ inch. So instead of going up, I'm gonna pull my cap up and I'm gonna go down 1 click for a ¼ inch and I'm gonna reset that turret. The next group that I shoot should be perfectly on target and we should be perfectly zeroed. So let's load up this mag. We'll shoot another 3-round group and hopefully we get as tight a grouping as last time, punching out that little red circle. All right, I'm gonna shoot a 5-round group here just because I think I kind of pulled that first one a little bit, or it seemed to be a bit of a random flyer. So I'm gonna shoot 2 more. Okay, we shot our 5-round group there. Clear this rifle. Now we're gonna go up and check that again and hopefully we should be on target. And again, like I said earlier, it's best to use the same ammo over and over again so that you don't have to constantly adjust your zero. Now what I'm shooting here are reloads from a local company. They're not anything special. It's just a reloaded hollow point. So these are not match grade rounds. They don't usually group super well. Obviously that last grouping was half MOA, that was pretty good. But again, it felt like when I shot that first round, there was a bit of a flyer, it did something weird, it seemed to pull really low. So that's why I shot that 5-round group. So anyway, let's go down range and check that out. All right, so obviously as you can see here, this group opened up a lot more. I believe this was the first impact and I saw that it went low even though I was aiming bottom center of this red circle. So that's why I shot that 5-round group. But again, this is just kind of a an example of how bullets don't always fly exactly where you point your reticle, even if you're zeroed perfectly. That's why we shoot groups, is to get an average of where we're going here. So again, I'm going to pull out my caliper, and measuring from the furthest point to the furthest point, we've got about a 3-inch group. 3 inches going down to 1.5 inches, right about there, puts us centrally kind of right over this point here. Obviously we got one impact in the bullseye, and the rest of this group, if you kind of drew an imaginary circle around it, I mean, just follow this 9 circle, we're pretty much dead center. So again, that first group, a lot more impressive, but within 3 MOA is totally acceptable. And I'm gonna call this zeroed. I like that where it is. And again, at 100 yards, unless you're, trying to shoot tiny critters, you're gonna hit what you're trying to hit at 100 yards. And again, this is a good base. You can continue to refine this if you please, but for me, I'm gonna call this zeroed. Now I'm gonna pasty these holes up because I wanna show you what I'm talking about when I say that changing your ammo can actually change your zero. So with these holes covered up, I'm gonna run back to the gun, put in a different brand and weight of ammo, and we'll see how it affects our zero here. Okay, I'm back on the gun, and I have 3 rounds of PMC bronze 55 grain FMJs. Now, obviously these are different than the reloads that I have. Hopefully we'll see how these impact differently than the reloads that I shoot, because like we talked about earlier, all ammo shoot differently. So let's see how it impacts our zero here. Now again, we've established our zero is pretty much set. We're good with the ammo that we are running. Now let's see how this different ammo affects our zero. Okay, that was a good group. Felt like I shot it good at least. Okay, gun's clear, we're on safe. Now, let's go check that out. Now obviously that was actually a fairly decent group with that cheap factory PMC ammo, and maybe that wasn't the best representation of how it can affect your zero, but you can see we've essentially kind of, if we drew an imaginary circle around this group, that's our center, it's off center from where we were here. Now, you might argue with me that, oh, it's in the same area. Yes, it is, but I've done tests before where I've shot multiple different ammo types and weights, and I've had impacts all the way up here, some in the center, some down here, all over the place. And again, consistent groups just moved around the target. Maybe not the best example to explain that phenomenon, but you get the idea. Stick with the ammo that your gun likes and you won't have issues with your zero as long as you stay in the same location, same weather, etc., like we talked about earlier. In any case, rifle zeroing is a critical skill that every shooter should understand and stay on top of. Like I said, zeroing is never permanent. It's something that needs constant care and refinement. If this video helped you zero your rifle, drop a like and a comment, or if you have a question or a tip, also put that down in the comments. And for more shooting content, make sure you subscribe. I have a lot of stuff planned that I'm very excited about. I'm Grant with Downtime Media. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bugs getting my beverage. Oh, they're in there. Dang it. Bunch of bugs fell in my monster. Bastards. Whatever.